All right, guys. Appreciate y'all again for tuning in. This is the weekly outlook. Today's date is May 25th, 2025. Let's go ahead and dive straight into it. All right. We ended out the week pretty solid last week. After a slow start, truth being told. And it wasn't a slow start because there wasn't moves to be had. It was really just a slow start just because the time frame in which a lot of the pairs were moving. I gave you guys the Nas buy on last week, weekly outlook last week, and it just hit, around London, 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the middle of the night. So I actually missed out on that push up. And then it was just kind of difficult to find a lot of good setups throughout the week just because of the time span. Even this sell-off that happened around noon, like it literally happened right after I closed up my laptop and my computer. But I did see a lot of you guys in the community that ate off of that. I did tell y'all that we would come clear out this little piece of consolidation. And just overall, timing was a little weird last week. Overall, was not a lot of fundamental news. It was like days and days and days without even having an orange folder. It was just straight yellow folders, news that wasn't super important. Trump wasn't tweeting too much. So overall, it was a slow week. But even with that being said, we did end the week very strong. Uh, Caught a nice 1-8 on Nas, and as you can see, it wasn't much, right? It definitely wasn't much, but caught this small buy here, and that's why it don't take much. Sometimes when the markets ain't reacting the way you need them to, you gotta adapt and adjust. So I did catch this for a nice 1-8 risk to award. TB hit on the call. I also gave you guys this sale on our New York session call as well. I wasn't really, pressed about taking it. It was for me, it was more just, getting something for the week, especially after a slow start and whatnot. And, I kind of told y'all, if you caught the buy and you want to risk a little more on the sell side of things, you can, just because we did come and clear the internal liquidity of this range. And as you can see, that's what produced that massive sell-off again. So with the way the market is moving currently, I could see the potential for another sale. Just being honest, I definitely could. One thing I do just want to take into consideration, all right, is the fact that we did come and clear some lows out over here, right? So we did come clear some lows out over here to the left. So that was something that was sticking out to me to potentially produce, at least a reaction on the buy side, right? So, I was looking at that. The market did actually buy up. And now the question that I have is, will the market continue buying, or is this just a temporary retracement? And the way that I personally find out this type of information is by analyzing whether or not I have a bearish hezzy crossover or a bullish hezzy crossover, right? So in this particular example, I do see a bearish one, right? Where we do have our hesitation and our crossover bearish. I'm not getting too deep into detail because I'm gonna post this, publicly, and just out of respect for my VIP students, right? I don't want to give out all the sauce, right? But just with that being said, I do see one on the bear side, but I don't see a hezzy crossover on the bullish side, right? Even though the price action is pretty aggressive, you did get a solid push up. When I look at the price action, I don't see a hezzy crossover on the upside. But yet again, just to reiterate, I do see one on the downside. So that just pretty much tells me, even with this most recent push up, we are still bearish. The fact that the market is starting to react right at this level is key, right? So now we got triple tops, or we got resistance that keeps bouncing. Every time the market bounces off that resistance, we have to assume that there's a pocket of money being generated right here. All right. All right. So if we assume that there's a pocket of money being generated right there, what I want to do is see some form of manipulation that can take us even lower. All right. So either we're gonna reject from here, or we could come clear this out and reject from here. But ultimately, I do see more bearishness happening on NAS 100 this week. All right. So that's your play right there. Obviously, you get into sales, you make new lows, you can start partialing out. But ultimately, I do believe we'll continue bearish. I don't think that this is the low that'll turn the market around. And there's a gap down here, right? I'm not super hell bent on gaps being filled like most people, but at the same time, more than the gap is I don't really trust this low. So more than the gap and this low right here, us not having a hezzy crossover and that push up, those are the main components. But on top of that, there happens to be a gap down here as well. So that just adds, an extra confirmation for me. All right. So I'm looking for bearishness this week on Nas. All right. We're gonna keep it pushing. All right. I am moving a little fast today because I'm not at home. I'm actually out and about. So just trying to get this call situated for all of y'all. All right. It's crazy how this played out. I wanted this on Wednesday or Thursday, ended up playing out, on a Friday, Sunday. So that just happens sometimes, right? Where the market, it kind of finds its entry or it takes liquidity on a certain area at kind of like the worst opportune times to where it's kind of hard to execute, right? Because, I'm not going to enter at the end of the trading week, but then, now the move is happening and it probably looked like he probably should have entered, right? Because I knew this red line would be taken out at the end of the day. That's an untouched markup from last week. I did want us to come clear this high out, but it was more about the timing of things for me. I'm not going to enter a trade on Friday at 1, 2, 3 o'clock p.m. That just doesn't make sense to me. But as you can see, the market did, start dropping. And that's okay. It's okay. Sometimes they're gonna trap you at the worst times of the week and make moves and stuff, whether it's early on a Sunday or late on a Friday. That happens from time to time. But ultimately, the move that I'm really looking for is for us to come clear out, this internal liquidity because we have a low that made a new high here. We do have weak lows in between that range. So I want to see us come clear that low and come clear these lows right here because I do feel like it's all liquidity, right? So anybody that's selling right now, you're looking good. I've seen some people buying gold, and I was kind of confused, but I'm not sure why you'd want to buy it right here, right now. But I do believe that gold is going to melt. If it does happen to come back up and fill this gap, we could probably take a good sell on it because I do believe that we coming for this right here. When we gonna come down to about 32.70, right? If we can come down to like 32.70, 32.73 if you want to be super exact and precise, but an easy round number to remember would be 32.70. Once we come down to 32.70, I'm looking for us to fill in this imbalance and then continue bullish, all right? So that's what I'll be looking for on gold. If you could find some sales, if the market happens to retrace a little bit, so be it. Market retraces, you want to sell, go for it, right? But me personally, I might take a sell, I might not, I don't know. But I for shit show, I'm gonna take this buy right here, right? So, let's look at the buys down at 37 or 32.70, all right? 32.70. Like I say, I'm moving fast today, y'all. So we moving quick. We're moving quick. Last week I did take a sell on GU. I got took out at break even. I guess just being a little too optimistic on the sell side of things, but both EU and GU are massively, massively, massively bullish. This has a lot to do with the DXY dying. Truth be told, like DXY is, it's really dying completely. And there's been rumor about it. Ain't really a rumor, it's fact, but just what's gonna be the result of it. At this point, it's a rumor, but it looks like it's playing out. But the bond market is collapsing. Our U.S. debt is about to default. It's like you can't dig yourself out of $37 trillion worth of debt. So a lot of like there's like auctions and stuff for US American debt and nobody's buying. So there's rumor that the entire market is going to collapse and they're going to reposition themselves into crypto and just be done with fiat currency altogether because it was a problem that started when we got off the gold standard. And, I feel like whether it's calculated or not, I don't know. But I do feel like they didn't take it serious enough until it just got too far out of hand. And now that it's to the point to where we can't stop this train, I feel like the only choice that a lot of institutions have is to burn it to the ground and reposition into a different system, right? This is literally the only option we have. Because everybody's selling they debt, they selling their bonds, everything is a bond market collapse. And long story short, it's just bad for the US dollar, right? So with that being said, I saw that. I marked up the DXY. I saw what the DXY was doing. All right. And this is what prompted me to actually take some buys on Euro USD, right? Because like I said, last week was crazy for me, right? If we get a bounce on the DXY, it'll be down here. So if you took Euro USD with me last week on Friday, you could definitely get ready to close partials if you haven't, or take profit, whatever you want to do. Me personally, I took profit last week, but just looking at the market structure of everything, I would love to see the market sell off and give me a better entry somewhere down here. I'd love to see us, push underneath these lows or even potentially this one in order to, accumulate more buys. But if it don't happen, that's fine. But we did end the week with a beautiful buy. And this was a nice play. I was proud of myself because, me personally, I am more of a reversal type of trader. Just being honest. But I've been able to adapt to these market conditions that have been very one-sided and, take more continuation type setups, right? And like I said, if you guys want to see this chart breakdown, it is in the course. I did do a full breakdown, a full analysis on why I took this buy. But just to be quick, a lot of people seen this sweep of liquidity. They seen this high take out the high over here, right? And they said, okay, we swept highs, the market should go bearish. But the part they was missing was on the bigger picture, you still got equal highs over here, right? You still got liquidity resting up here. So you can't even look for a strong high until you clear out all the necessary liquidity. And that's why I knew that the sell was a trap, right? So, you guys got to be able to see the bigger picture and not think like a rookie trader. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people see the sweep, a lot of people sell. And if a lot of people sell, then I want to do the opposite because most traders lose anyway. So me understanding that, I saw the sweep of the high. I also saw the liquidity to the left. So all I did was found a hezzy crossover going in the direction that I wanted to trade. And that's how we caught the buy, right? So obviously, textbook hezzy crossover setup. Don't really get much better than that. And like I said, I was proud of myself just for catching this, just because, again, the markets have been trash last week. And I was telling y'all, keep showing up, keep showing up. Even though I missed my nice buy on Monday, even though, I missed the sale on Tuesday or Wednesday, I was like, damn, keep showing up because we gonna get that 1 to 9, 1 to 10 type of trade set up. It always happens, regardless of however the week start. I'm gonna finish the week with a couple bangers. And we did a 1 to 8 on Nas on Thursday, and then we did a 1 to 9 on Euro USD the day after that. And truth be told, that's pretty bad for me because I typically do 1 to 10 or better. But again, just adjusting to a week that had little to no volatility in terms of fundamentals, you can't be mad at that. But, like I said, with the DXY reaching that point of interest, if I were y'all, I would definitely take profit on this trade because I believe that we have a good chance to like I said, drop and find a higher low somewhere down here. So whether we find a higher low around, 112, 1.12, uh, maybe like 12.12, or even possibly 1.117, right? 1.117. One of these two areas I'm looking to take continuations, right? This is just one leg to the upside to me. And now I want this market to react and either push here or even come a little lower and do that. All right. So that's what I'm looking for. I do believe a lot of people are taking profit. Now that we pushed up into this pocket of money, a lot of people should be closing their buy positions. And if they close their buy positions, that makes room for the sales to take place. All right. So, like I said, I'm gonna keep it pushing. I'm moving fast today, y'all. It's probably gonna be the fastest weekly outlook I ever did. So USD CAD and consolidated for weeks, and now I mean literally consolidated for a whole month and a half, and now just melting away again. Like I said, this has a lot to do with the DXY that has just been bearish essentially really since Trump got into office. But again, when it's pumping like crazy, that's more of like an inflationary state. It's not necessary. It doesn't necessarily have to do with the true value of the dollar or anything like that. That's not why the dollar was bullish previously. There might be a misconception, but it's not the true facts. So what it is I'm looking to have happen here again, hopefully we can get a bounce. If we do get a bounce, I would like to see us push up maybe to like the 105 area, and then we can continue our sales. All right. If that does happen, USD CAD could find a floor somewhere. All right. I ain't really feeling that price action all too much. So maybe we find something somewhere else. Maybe like I said, Euro USD or GBP USD shorts. Those look a little better than, some of the other options that we have on the table. All right. Let's take a quick look at gold. Or did we already look at gold? I think we already checked out gold. Oh, so yeah, like I explained before, looking at gold to come down to 32.70, and then we could probably continue the buys right here. Definitely gave y'all the buys in this region here, and I do still believe that we're gonna make new highs as anticipated. Right. Um, the goal was to reach that daily imbalance down there, react, and then make new highs. I do believe that we coming for 3,500 again and beyond, probably more like 37, 3,800. And but at the end of the day, this is just gonna create a higher low point. Right. Now that we got this major reversal down here, all I need is a higher low, and then I can continue buying back up. All right. Uh let's see what else we got. I got I got EuroCAD. I want to say bearish. I want to say bearish, but I'll zoom in a little more in a sec. I still do believe that there's money underneath this low that needs to be taken. Even though we pushed up a bit, we didn't push up with a lot of conviction, in my opinion. On a 4 hour, we do just take out a little bit of internal structure right there. We run into this tiny area of imbalance here, and now the market is pushing back down again. All right. Market left that long wick, closed lower. Maybe if we can react somewhere in here, we'll continue back down, targeting this low. All right. Once we target that low, I'll personally be looking for some buys. But again, we gotta just be able to navigate this weird price action. It's a lot of consolidation. Then you get a push, consolidate for literally weeks, right? From April 30th up until May 9th. Then you get another push. So it's like this is what EuroCAD has been doing for a little while now. So again, you just gotta try to adapt to what the markets are giving you. All right. Had to clean that up a little bit. Hezzy, crossover bearish. We got internal structure right there. Internal liquidity. So I could see a continuation play happening right there. All right. So I'll look for the market to retrace back up to like 1.5667 or 1.5665. That's easier to remember. 5665. All right. We hit that level. I do believe we'll drop and more than likely respect that high. All right. So definitely look for some continuations there. There's no other imbalances above, so I don't really see a reason for the market to go back up there. All right. So just going with the momentum right now, the order flow, and going with the target that I see. I do see this being a target. I don't see that being a strong low. So that's what I want to target right there. All right. Oh yeah. We made chicken. Yeah, for sure. So, just more consolidation here. But again, if I had to bet, I'd probably say we're gonna go bearish, right? Just because of the pushes up and the new lows being created. Um, again, regardless of the market consolidating, it don't really matter. Like you could still find, setups based off how the lows look compared to the highs. The highs are to always taking something. The highs are taking something. The lows are not. So if I got strong highs and I got weak lows, that's going to tell me the direction that the market is going, even in consolidation. So in this case, same as EuroCAD, right? Same as EuroCAD. I'm just looking for a retracement and continuation to target these lows. And if I'm wrong, who cares? Like we just going for risk to reward. Other traders go for high win rates. I go for the profitability. You understand? That's what matters, right? And I know traders that win 80% of their trades and they don't even make money like that because at the end of the day, risk to reward is more important than your win rate. You could close a trade anytime you 2 pips in profit and have a high win rate. That doesn't mean you're going to make the money necessary to be profitable because one win can take you out, right? But when we trade this way with small stops, big targets, it allows you to take chances anywhere you feel necessary, right? Anywhere you can see a setup, I could take an opportunity without over leveraging myself, without digging myself into a deep hole, right? And that's the name of the game. That's how you trade, and that's how you really make a career out of this thing, all right? So hopefully you guys are taking heed to that. I know it's a bunch of people in the community right now, and hopefully you guys are noticing, some of the nuances of the market. If you've been trading with me for a while, we have our weeks where we come on and we hit right away. We also have our weeks where, we got to stay diligent, we got to stay disciplined, and we got to just keep showing up because it's the front half of the week was slow, or we may have took some losses. But hopefully y'all starting to see now that regardless of, a win or a loss, a win streak, lose streak, like when you hit, you can have that home run that brings you back. If you think about baseball, some of the best hitters, I believe, they hit like 20-30% of the time. You know what I mean? Um, the best 3-point shooters in the world. I mean, in basketball, right? 35, 38, 39%. If you hit 40%, You one of the best shooters in the NBA, hands down. But if you're around that 35 to 38% range, you're considered an elite shooter. Like sniper, sharpshooter, you gotta guard that man. And they only hitting 3 out of 10, 4 out of 10, right? And this is a game like any other game. Football, you got 4 attempts to get 10 yards. You don't have to do everything in one shot. You know what I'm saying? And I don't trade in one shot either. I give myself multiple chances to lose every day because my risk to reward is so good. I can take a jab here, a jab there, lose here, lose there, and then I score, right? And then I knock it out the park. Then I hit the game winner, whatever you want to call it. But treat trading like a game. And if you could treat it like a game, you can kind of like roll with the punches. It's not the end of the world. I think a lot of people learn a strategy and they think the strategy means they're going to be 100% accurate when the only thing a strategy is an edge that should allow you to, pull money out the market over time. It doesn't mean you make money every single trade. I can give my phone to my 1-year-old daughter right now and tell her to push a button and she can win a trade, any given trade, right? But at the end of the day, it's about consistency, day in and day out. Can you win over time? And if you can do that, then you got a better situation on your hands. So with that being said, hopefully you guys took something from this very quick weekly outlook. This is probably the fastest one I've ever done. These calls usually be about an hour, at least hour and a half. So I do appreciate y'all again for adjusting with the schedule. You know how family stuff is when family stuff pop up. Especially since I have my daughter, it's like, man, I don't even have my weekends no more. It's like, and like I'm always driving around Houston trying to, let my daughter see family members and all of that. So, like I said, I know the weekly outlook is typically around 3 p.m. Eastern, but you just got to be prepared for any day. Sometimes it might get pushed back. So, I do appreciate y'all for adapting. We still had pretty decent attendance today. So, appreciate y'all yet again. For anybody that missed, this call is recorded. So I will upload it to my YouTube right after this. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, all of that. And if you guys want to trade with me day in and day out, join Trade Genius Academy, right? I put my course in there as well. And the duplication has been phenomenal, right? So it's not like you just trading live with me, but you're gonna have access to everything my entire process and how I analyze the charts before I take a trade. And I feel like that's been something that's been extremely beneficial for a lot of people and a lot of traders. So definitely take advantage. I feel like it's at a healthy price. Healthy in a good way. And when you look at it compared to a lot of the other communities and value that you're gonna get elsewhere, I do believe that is definitely at a bargain. So tap in, man. Tap in, watch the recording, join the community, get around the frequency, get around other successful traders, and you'll become a part of that. You become the sum of the 5 people you hang around, talk to the most. And even if you're not in an environment where you live, where you got positive people around you, that's even more of a reason to invest in yourself and join a community. Because when I didn't have the proper environment, it was a group chat, it was a Zoom call that became my environment, right? So sometimes you have to invest into a community so that way you don't fall victim to the current environment that you're in. All right. But with that being said, I appreciate y'all. I'll catch y'all on the next call. And Trade Genius, I'll see y'all in the morning. All right. Peace.